What if I told you that the reason most big projects fail has almost nothing to do with bad leadership or a weak culture, but has everything to do with, well, the laws of physics? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical framework that makes that exact claim. And honestly, it might just change the way you think about change itself, forever. So let's start with this number. Just take a look at it. 85%. According to a ton of different studies, this is the typical failure rate for major corporate transformations. That's insane, right? Think about all that wasted time, money, and just pure human effort. This is the big, ugly problem we're all trying to solve. Which leads to the obvious question, why? I mean, we have brilliant people in charge. We have dedicated teams. We throw massive resources at these things. We do the workshops. We craft the perfect strategies. We communicate till we're blue in the face. And yet, the huge majority of these efforts just don't stick. So what are we all missing here? Well, this framework suggests that maybe we've been looking in completely the wrong place. We tend to treat these failures as management problems, But what if there's something much more fundamental? What if they're actually violations of physical law? I'm sure these failure modes look super familiar. Pushing your teams past their breaking point, having different projects that basically cancel each other out, ignoring all those little red flags. We've all seen this stuff happen. But this framework looks at them differently. These aren't just simple missteps. They're predictable outcomes. It's like trying to defy gravity. The result is always going to be the same. Okay, so if breaking the laws of physics is the recipe for failure, what happens when we start to respect them? Or better yet, what if we use them to our advantage? That brings us to the core idea of this grand unified framework. It's a whole new paradigm for how we can make change actually work. This right here, this is the light bulb moment. What if the reason for failure isn't bad management, but bad physics? Just think about that for a second. This one question completely flips the script. It suggests that maybe we can move away from the often messy, unpredictable soft science of human behavior and into the predictable, reliable world of hard science. This slide really lays out that shift in thinking. On one side, you've got the traditional view. Change is all about psychology, culture, leadership. On the other side, you have the unified framework, which argues that organizations are really governed by physical principles, like entropy, the natural tendency for things to get disorganized and lose energy over time, and resonance, which is how different initiatives can either amplify each other or just cancel each other out. Now, the entire framework is built on 9 of these core physics principles, from conservation of energy to quantum coherence. But don't worry, I promise this isn't going to turn into a physics lecture. Instead, we're going to focus on the practical part, how these big ideas actually show up as 4 distinct human energies that you can see, feel, and most importantly, manage. So how in the world do you apply physics to a human system? Well, you start by understanding energy. This framework breaks it down into 4 key types of human energy that are basically the fundamental building blocks for any successful change. First up is vision, which you can think of as intellectual energy. This is your organization's momentum. And just like in physics, momentum is mass times velocity. You can have a whole lot of motion, a lot of activity, people being really busy, but if you don't have a clear direction, a clear velocity, all that energy is just wasted. Vision is what gives you that crucial vector. Next, we have words, which the framework calls spiritual energy. The physics comparison here is something called quantum coherence. A simple way to think about it is like sound waves. When all your messages are aligned, when they're in phase, they amplify each other and create this powerful, clear signal. But when your messages are contradictory, they interfere, they crash into each other, and the meaning just collapses into noise. The third energy is feeling, or emotional energy. This is the activation energy you need to get over a hurdle. You can have the best plan in the entire world, but if people aren't emotionally bought in, if they're feeling cynical or fearful, you will never overcome the natural resistance to change. Feeling is literally the fuel that gets the engine started. And finally, of course, we have action, or physical energy. This is the work that gets done, the force you apply to move something. But here's the critical insight. Action is only really productive when it's guided by vision, aligned by words, and powered by feeling. Without those other 3, it's not progress. It's just spinning your wheels. Okay, so what happens when you get all 4 of those energies lined up and pointing in the same direction? Well, that's when the magic happens. They combine and create these 3 really powerful emergent forces that can drive real, lasting transformation. So this whole process kind of unfolds in 3 stages. First, on the left, you've got to achieve harmony. That's simply when your vision, your words, your feeling, and your action are all in sync. From there, in the middle, you get to growth. This is what happens when you keep that harmony, but you put it into motion. You're intentionally moving forward without losing that alignment. And then finally, you reach the ultimate goal, dynamic balance. The best analogy is a spinning top. It stays perfectly upright precisely because it's moving. That's the sweet spot you want for your organization, stable and adaptive at the exact same time.
All right, now for what is probably the framework's boldest claim, that you can make success not just likely, but inevitable. Now, how is that even possible? Well, it all starts by completely redefining what we even mean by success. Just look at this table for a second and focus on level 1. The framework says you can have a 100% success rate here. And here's why. It redefines success as creating the conditions for growth. See, you can't always control the external outcomes, but you can absolutely control your internal physics. You can manage your capacity, your resonance, your energy, and by guaranteeing success at this internal level, look what happens. Achieving your external goals at level 2 becomes ridiculously more likely. You jump from that pathetic 15% success rate all the way up to 75–90%. That is a game changer.
This one shift changes everything. The main way you measure success moves from something external and often out of your control, did we hit our targets, to something internal that you can control. Did we become a more capable, a smarter, a more harmonious organization because we did this? If you can guarantee that, hitting your future targets becomes almost a foregone conclusion.
So I guess that leaves us with one final question to chew on. Think about the biggest challenges your organization is facing right now. Are they really management problems? Are they just people problems? Or, if you look at them through this new lens, could they just be physics problems with clear, predictable solutions just waiting to be applied? It's a different way to look at things, for sure.